Hi, I'm Harold Monroe, Editor-in-Chief at the Vancouver Sun. I'm here with Daphne Bramham, our columnist. And Daphne, what are you expecting when the polls close tonight in Vancouver? What are you going to be looking for?
Well, the first thing I'm going to be looking for is how many people are standing in line waiting to get their ballots through the machine. Because when I was there this morning, at the poll that I was at, there was only one machine. Most of the polls that I've heard of only have one of these machines. So I think that's going to be that's going to slow things down a bit.
And the ballot is longer because there are so many names on the list. It's taking, I understand, 22 seconds to process each ballot. So you can imagine there's massive lineups.
Well, but you know, I think one of the things that I was so happy about when I was at the polls, though, is people really seem to have done a lot of work. I mean, if you're going to the polls in Vancouver today, or if you went to the polls, a lot of people, like, you really had to know what you were doing because there were so many candidates, 71 candidates for council. But what I'm looking for is obviously who's going to be the next mayor of Vancouver. Mayor Gregor Robertson is gone. His successor is it going to be left? Is it going to be right? Is it going to mean a dramatic change? Right. And then because in many ways Gregor Robertson's party has disintegrated, the council could be a very split council. I mean, we could get, for example, a left-leaning mayor like Kennedy Stewart, but he could have a right-wing council. He could have an NPA-dominated council. We could have a council that's a mishmash of independents and people with all sorts of single-issue candidates. I think there's a good. I think I'll be looking to see if someone like Jean Swanson, for example, gets elected. Jean Swanson is Order of Canada recipient, a well-known housing activist. I think there's a good chance that she could be on council. She's going to be a thorn in the side of a council if they don't do something on housing. But with a council that's potentially so split, we could have gridlock at City Hall.
You mentioned the vision imploding, but when I was doing a bit of an analysis last week and looking at the four major right-leaning parties running in Vancouver versus the four major left-leaning parties, the right is running 26 candidates between them. The left only 14. So in some ways they've been more disciplined, and we know how vote splitting happens when it comes down to voting for councillors. I'm wondering what kind of factor that might play, as well as the Vancouver District Labour Council endorsing a slate of left-leaning candidates. That could go a long way. Although I've also seen at least one list that was generated by a group on the west side of Vancouver, and it's of course populated by NPA, Vancouver First, and Coalition Vancouver candidates, and they're urging them to vote for Ken Sims. So it could really split any number of ways.
Well, I think one of the other things that's really interesting is because housing is such a huge issue, there's a real motivation for people who are underhoused. So for renters, for people who are in tenuous housing situations, they're really motivated to vote.
They are, but they don't typically vote, do they? So
that
will be interesting.
So if those people are motivated to get to the polls, and really this election is all about housing and affordability, if those people get to the polls, I think the chances for a right-wing party, ones that are talking about slow growth and protecting these single-family homes, I think that's going to make a huge difference. The other thing that I think will, in an analysis, a later analysis, I think we really need to look at who has done the voting. Are they renters? Because there are cities like San Francisco where renters now make the majority of the voters, and it really changes the way cities think about themselves and the kinds of policies that they come up with. So that's one of the things that I would be looking for as well.
Yeah, I think I'll also be looking to see if Vancouver elects its first woman mayor. I mean, Shauna Sylvester's been polling very well. Running as an independent, that would be doubly significant, winning as an independent and Vancouver's first mayor. So lots to watch for tonight.